Morning, everyone. So, what we have here is the X2, but it's official, semi-official, if you want to call it that. Project name is Project Mad Max. Don't ask me why. I think it's just a fitting name for the look of the vehicle and everything else. So, anyway, this past weekend had some pretty successful time with reassembly of this vehicle. Spent a lot of time with the kind of getting to know how the parts fit and interface and all that good junk. Nothing like trying to learn a new chassis. So, some of the things that I came across as I was reassembling this vehicle, probably some of you have already encountered, but I figured I better document my own experiences a little bit. One of the more interesting things that I came across was when I was assembling the center spool carrier here. Mind you, it's from Modified RC. Awesome piece. Very, very high quality. Comes machined out of 7075 aluminum. It's got the support bearings included in the kit. It's pre-tapped for the brake bosses for any modified brake system that you put on here. So the installation of it was fairly straightforward, especially when it came to installing the MIP real racing brake setup that I purchased. So the one thing that I did come across was the center spool drive cup on the front half of the spool didn't quite accept the brake caliper, or either one, or not brake caliper, I'm sorry, brake rotor. Either one. It didn't accept either one. The unit itself was just too large. So at least that was my initial thought. So I got my handy dandy digital calipers out and started measuring parts here. The rear one, it went on just fine. In fact, it had more than enough tolerance to accept the rear rotor. The front one was considerably larger. It was about a 0.5 millimeter or so larger than the rear one. So I basically had to machine it down to a point of where it would accept the brake rotor, that way I could get it installed. But the brake system, it installed perfectly. In fact, you don't necessarily need to. You can use all of the parts if you choose to. I just added some thread lock on here to make sure that these screws, attachment points or attachment screws, however you want to call them, don't back themselves out. Just not the red stuff, the blue stuff. Blue stuff should hold just fine. So I've got the Vertigo center locker, very easy to install. I haven't put one in the rear yet. The second Vertigo locker that I purchased wouldn't accept the Team Fast Eddie upgraded bearings, so I'm not exactly sure what's going on with that. So we'll have to look into that to see what the difference of the internal bearing, the internal race diameter is versus the outer diameter of the spots where the bearings go on the spool itself. I wonder what the difference between the two are. The one thing I did notice is the brake cams. See, you can see how easy that one turns. This one does not. All right, it didn't turn very. And these screws aren't as tight as they absolutely need to be. And the reason being is the brake cam here has a little bit of resistance. So knowing me, I got out my digital calipers again and started measuring stuff. And this brake cam here, this one, is there's certain sections of it that are a different height. The bottom of the bearing, this bottom of the support bearing, or the support bearing for your brake cam on the front, to the top of the bottom bearing for the brake cam. For the brake cam itself is a different height than this one. So this one you get a lot more friction because that certain section between the two bearings is taller, so you get it's taller, adds more friction. It's a tighter tolerance than this one, so you don't get as much free movement on the front one as you do this one. So I'm going to end up ordering the Team Losi replacement parts for that. Let's see what else. Installed the 20-tooth pinion here with the Turtle Racing vented clutch bell housing. Went in really smooth. Got the Victory RC big bore pipe. Haven't started this thing yet. So got all my aluminum center bracing. Everything's plumbed. Got the Dark Soul disconnects, etc., etc., etc. Got the new modified carb with the bearings for the throttle shaft here. Got that put on. Of course, all the outerwears and junk. Everything's pretty much assembled except for the rear diffs. I don't have any drive lines in it. Currently, there are no pinion gears in either the front or the rear diffs. The reason being is, again, the tolerances are something to be desired in a clone, which that's okay. I mean, you end up spending a little bit of money here and there to get it to where it's working the way you want it to. And quite frankly, all these add-on parts I would have had to spend on a Losi anyway. So that being said, front and rear pinions are not that expensive. But the problem is the pinion shaft that the bearings sit on. You've got an inner bearing and an outer bearing. That shaft is a different diameter than the inner diameter of those bearings. So they don't fit. They're impossible to get. Those Team Fast Eddie bearings are impossible to get onto that pinion shaft. So I'm going to have to order parts for that. So once those are installed, I'll reinstall the drive lines and do the final assembly on it. Do the final assembly on the radio gear, all that good stuff. So I don't have the throttle linkage hooked up. I've got a different throttle linkage to hook up for reed case based motors instead of your piston port motors. Got the Hostile Racing tires mounted on all four corners. I am going to upgrade the body post mounts and the shock towers. I still have to rebuild the shocks, so that'll be happening soon enough. I don't suppose this thing is going to be operational probably for another 2 to 3 weeks is my guess. So we'll just kind of see how it goes. Anyway, everybody, have a blessed Tuesday. We will catch you all later.